Okay, hey guys, what's up? This is the 5th scenario in the Joan of Arc campaign, also known as the Siege of Paris. Let me start off by saying, this scenario is bullshit. And, yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know about it. It is actually a very quick scenario. I think I finished it in about 15 minutes, and I was slacking off a lot. I took a lot of time to destroy buildings and basically do stuff you really don't have to do. So, by those standards, this should be a very quick and easy scenario. Basically, there's a heavily fortified city called Paris, which, for whatever reason, is completely British. I think they could have made at least, like, a French city and then just had, like, British units in it, but, that's just how they chose to do things. So anyway, first off, control your bombard cannons, and second off, don't charge in there with your pikemen, because the British have tons of onagers, as I will come to learn to my demise later. Basically, later in the scenario, my entire force gets completely destroyed by onagers. But I'm not going to be the harbinger of bad news right now. So anyway, yes, the onagers completely destroy you. I lost a lot of crossbowmen right there to those onagers. And the British, their forces are mostly like, they have a lot of longbowmen. They have not a ton of onagers, but their onagers are really well placed and really do a ton of damage, which is unfortunate. First off, the first thing I gotta say for this scenario is keep your bombard cannons alive. They are the most useful units in this entire game. Definitely in this scenario. They're extremely mobile. They're kind of like trebuchets. They don't do nearly as much damage as the trebuchets, but they're much more mobile. I didn't actually use the trebuchets until much later on in the scenario. So basically, what you want to do is just clear out the city at first. The thing that I learned the hard way is you really need to clear out the city, because if you don't go around all the little corners with your knights, because there's always a few British longbowmen skulking in every single corner. If you don't do that, the British longbowmen will come at you from behind and kill your bombard cannons. And that's how I lost like all my bombard cannons. So you have to be really, really careful with that. Make sure you just scout around everywhere. You can just bring your force of knights and crossbowmen, and they'll kill the longbowmen pretty easily. I decided to destroy the castles because the British, they do produce units, so it is pretty safe to just destroy all their production buildings, but for whatever reason they didn't seem to produce units when I was next to the buildings. Not quite sure why that is. But just to be on the safe side, I destroyed all the archery ranges and castles and that stuff anyway, because it only takes a couple of seconds to destroy them with bombard cannons, so you might as well. I didn't really see any reason not to destroy them. Your light cavalry is also pretty important to keep alive, because he can do some scouting for you. Your initial objective is to find a fair amount of villagers, and make sure you kill that onager, because that could do some real damage that you're seeing on the screen right now. You have to find, I believe they give you around 10 to 12 villagers, somewhere in that range, and you have to keep at least 6 of them alive to the end of the scenario. If you destroy all the British military production unit buildings, they cannot attack you from behind, so you can just have your main forces be up ahead, and then your villagers go from behind, and they won't be in any danger whatsoever. The British also have a town center, although I highly doubt they would use it, but I destroyed it just to be on the safe side anyway. There isn't exactly a whole lot of resources in the middle of the city. It's mostly just houses and buildings and that sort of thing. So, more British longbowmen, as per usual. Your next objective is to go to a bridge in the middle of Paris where supposedly you're going to get reinforcements, although that doesn't really happen, because it says the king is going to send reinforcements or something, but it turns out that the king was feeling like a dick today, because all he sends you is one militia and 1 light cavalry. You will get a few reinforcements later on in the game, but don't keep your hopes up, because it's not really anything that special. It's just a couple of kind of weaker units. So you really want to do your best to keep your main force alive. That's going to help you a ton in the long run. And here is the king's reinforcements right there. Absolutely wonderful. And it turns out the scout cavalry isn't even useful at all, because it's the Dark Age scout cavalry, like at the time when the scout cavalry is slow and has a very small line of sight, so he's not even useful for scouting. The militia, I just deleted him because I was a bit upset with the fact that he's a militia. But you can keep him if you want. He's pretty cool. Ironically, the only military units that I had that survived to the end, I believe, were militia, and here I'm just saving the game. Not really sure why I put that in there. Anyway, that's interesting. So, this is the part where I really lost most of my forces coming up soon. This is basically like the other half of Paris. In the southern half of Paris, there's basically a whole lot of British units kind of clumped around, and you have to run around with your knights and destroy them. Same idea here. There's also quite a few British production buildings scattered around in the mix that you might want to destroy with your bombard cannons and trebuchets. One thing that I learned that it was incredibly annoying is if you don't have your trebuchets set to no attack stance, that they will start unpacking themselves, which is really annoying. And here, this is the onager that pretty much sealed my fate. It absolutely destroyed my troops. I lost nearly my entire military force here in this little engagement here. So make sure you destroy that onager as soon as possible, and hopefully you'll be able to keep more than just a couple. I only had a couple militia alive at the very end of the mission, but luckily this is pretty much your last military engagement. After this, you don't need your army at all anymore, but it is nice to have those siege weapons because it's going to be pretty difficult to get through 2 gates. You do have to get out into the countryside, so you have to break out of Paris at this point. Luckily I did have the hero unit, which is a bombard cannon. His name's like Gene or something like that. I don't know. He's just a bombard cannon that's slightly better than most bombard cannons. Bombard cannons are actually really effective against trebuchets, so never knew that until today. Anyway, use your trebuchets to destroy the gate because they're going to do a bit faster than the bombard cannon is, and I destroyed the British castle as well just to be safe. So anyway, this part, I scouted ahead with Joan, but luckily since I did that, you don't have to. Since Joan is actually really fast and has a decent line of sight, I wasn't too worried about her being attacked. But you can also just save the game here just to be safe. So if you play your cards right, they won't attack you. There's actually 3 Burgundian onagers, but you can kill them with Joan. Just make sure you don't stay in one place for too long, otherwise they will kill her. But if you destroy those 3 Burgundian onagers, the rest of the Burgundian force is going to be too worried, too busy attacking the teal player, and they won't bother with you. So you can just run all your villagers and Joan of Arc into the teal base at the very end, and just hope that the Burgundian troops do not spot you. So this was basically my plan of attack. I clumped all my villagers and everything together, and I just ran in there, made a headlong dash, and was like, please do not let any purple units attack me, don't let them kill Joan of Arc. But I didn't really have to worry about that too much because they were too focused on, you know, throwing their useless bodies at the castle and killing themselves. So there you go, that's the end of the scenario. It's victory. That scenario was finally over. So hopefully you enjoyed, and thanks for watching, and subscribe to see more. That is all. Farewell.